Yeah. Oh, that I said?
Yeah, you already had it.
Yeah, that I got the online version. I mentioned
Yeah.
that in one of the emails. I actually got the week before, so that online version.
But still, it's great. It's like, oh, contract, I'll sign up. Yeah.
I think that you have the,
I have it in email.
okay, yeah.
I'll give him mine.
We can share.
Yeah.
Only started the week ago. At least it's miserable. I'm miserable in the shop. It's pretty darn nice. Central Motors, they've got their doors open close to the day. This weather is real nice.
Yeah. Amazing morning.
Oh. Did nothing. Fire going in the backyard last night. I just enjoyed it. It was wine.
Yeah, that'd be a big deal.
It's 68 degrees and low humidity. And I called talked to my niece in Florida. It's 91 and
Swampy.
91 and rainy. Oof.
We're at in Florida.
Just below Tampa, Northport. It was full of Bradenton. Yeah. Oh, no. It's just absolutely miserable. But it's nice in the wintertime, right?
Yes, it is.
They also have nice weekends.
Depends upon the time of year. Sometimes they got the housing stuff going on.
Amen. Especially in the Gulf. Whether, oh boy.
That's right.
Rather than 10 days. Dismissed.
Public.
I'm gonna start treating it.
Right.
All right, it's 9:30. All those in favor choose, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order with everyone present. As a reminder, our meeting is being recorded. If you choose not to be recorded, you have the option to leave. First item on the agenda, Michael Kueny, our county engineer. It's all yours, Mike.
All right, I'll just kind of read through this. It feels like it's been a while. It's been 2 weeks and then it was a long time before that. Bill grant was submitted. Nothing new this week on that. Subdivision data, that's gonna come up more once the summer is finished. Quarry Hill, ball is in Bruning's court. Bridge 307, they got some finished grading, finished resurfacing. They'll throw the guardrail in and seat it. So they're gonna be finished hopefully possibly this week. Bridge crew finished work on W42 culverts last week. They're actually touching up some of the soil where they left it on Friday. Work will begin on the B16 pipe this week. We will close B16 to do the pipe on B16. The scoop is in Ridgeway this week. They're working out the pitching post. Their patchers in Mocha's shop. I already submitted the annual report on Thursday, August 13th. I've not heard back yet on its whether or not it's passed. W42 asphalt patches were not done. I should remove that from the last. 2 insurance claims have been filed with ICAP for accidents involving the road crew. Or excuse me, there should be 3 insurance claims in the last 4 weeks. Excuse me, I thought I changed that. Must have hit undo. The interdepartment loan is still reflected in our secondary roads balance. We're looking at paying that off in September. Bridge 126, top and sidewalls are nearly finished. The inlet was poured on Friday, and the outlet and the last pour will be done on this Friday. Quite a bit of great work to do. Remember last week's picture? It's just big site. We're working with the county is working with the DNR on the mitigation project as well as part of this. Or we're trying to fit it in. The Frankville Cold in Place operation is finished. It is setting now, so it has to set for 7 or 10 days by requirement. The 4-inch overlay will likely begin in 2 weeks, is what I'm hearing. Currently, sidewalk work is being done while the cold in place milling operation is setting. ISAC occurred last week. I did not attend. Did Shirley and Mark, I think one of you attended.
And Ben.
I was there, Tim was there.
I did a lot of the courthouse. Yeah, I did want to go, but family obligations made it so that it was going to be difficult for me to make it there. Maintainer purchase approved in February is being outfitted with snow gear. I think they're done with that, so the payment for delivery is expected early in September. I think it might be delivered next week, so holding out hope there. Traffic study for Canoe Ridge and River Road was submitted to the board for review on Friday. Don't know if that's something we vote on this week.
It's on the agenda if you want to.
So I don't know if I had a chance to review that.
It made good sense for
So
safety reasons.
sure.
Do you have like a resolution or what do you?
I don't have a resolution. I need a resolution. I'd forgotten what the process was, and I had
I didn't look at the study. So are you adding a stop sign or something?
we are adding a stop
And
sign.
I think you need a resolution
Yep. All right, I'll have that resolution passed and
for next week.
for next week. So
I'll just continue that on then for next week.
And then the traffic study for the 60 mph speed limit is ongoing. I will say that all of the roads have been analyzed. Now I'm trying to form a plan around what I want 55 versus 60 from a holistic perspective, and then write up the called the background and everything else as to how I did and how I'm looking at everything. So there's not much left to go on that in terms of
That also will need a resolution when you. are ready
yes,
to
yes.
Do that one.
Just the Canoe Ridge, I just forgot about the resolution because there was stuff pressing on Friday. So I
There was
apologize.
discussion around that at ISAC too.
Okay,
We're not the only group that's like, wait a minute, we can't do this on all our roads.
yeah. So and I would imagine that's the case. I mean that especially the hillier counties.
Yeah.
So Almaquee is doing what we're doing. Woodbury. I haven't spoken with Casey, but you get the gist. And then finally, ice control bids were sent out Friday. Or did you hear back from them?
When should I have that on the agenda? You can tell me.
It's September 8th is when they're due.
So go the week after that, the 14th.
Yep.
Do we have a lot of those as control from last year?
We have used up most of it, most of the shops. I don't know if there's any one left. Maybe the Austin shop might be the only one that has some left. So this year's bid, we're putting in a total of 1,500 ton more. Some of that we're looking at. Hopefully, we don't have to use it during the winter, and then trying to stabilize base on some of the roads, notably Meadowlark and Conover. And that's why the ice control bids on Decorah and Austin have a higher amount. Is we're thinking that we're gonna haul from those two shops on those two roads. So
Last year, that was what, 345,000?
I don't know. It was 2,000 ton a piece at $15 a ton. So you make it my calculator and whip it out, but that math, whatever that math is, can't remember that number exactly. So it's a little bit more.
How much was it?
2,000 a piece times 6 shops.
It's
12,000 times 16 a ton.
160, 100 plus 2 times.
Yeah, it's gonna be 200. It was 220.
Right at about 200.
I was thinking it was 220, but there's a lot of numbers that I could be at. 16 is 32 times whatever shops. Yeah. So that's the bid that we got out, and that's the report. Any questions for me?
Have we recently got any traffic counts back from the state?
There is a traffic count map. I haven't been informed of that, but I know that it's up on the DOT website. So I was looking the other day for that, and I'm going to end up probably using that for this traffic study.
Was our area of the state up this year?
They analyzed it the year before, and the map should be at.
Okay. The northeast quadrant was the last study that just got published.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So that should be up. The issue is they're redoing all of their website to make it ADA compliant, and I looked at it and then it was there, but it was in the old website. So it's been done. It's been put together.
There somewhere.
Yeah. So
And just a reminder, they do it every 4 years that our area gets done. They kind of rotate around.
and that's a 2025 number. Any other questions? at 25 minutes, so,
I didn't know if you would be going through these different traffic studies, so I didn't.
yeah, well, the one traffic study is pretty straightforward, and then the other one is. It's a lot of work. Even when you think you're gonna be finished, and start looking at what you did before and start correcting it, so it's just been a process.
The criteria do you use in that study in your mental process?
Well, so biggest thing I look at is, how straight the roads are. I mean, straight means that there's a difference between a 5 mile an hour increase on the average speed of travelers. Doesn't change a lot of things. Curves. What I have noticed, which is surprising to me, is in the safety data, the curvy roads aren't necessarily more dangerous. But adding 5 miles an hour more to a curve as you enter a curve, it just, for inexperienced drivers, for things like that, I'm not really wanting to, go down that road. Changing the speed to 55 now and then reverting it back to 60 also is easier because it's statutorily 60 unless we sign it differently. So those are kind of how I'm approaching the idea. And then, some of the roads, one of the roads that I want to make 60 that I just don't want, the liability on is Locust Road. I want to make it 60 because it's our busiest county road, for any amount of length. Old State would have the busiest section. The Locust Road, every intersection that you have on that road has been flagged by our safety report. And it's not always a problem on Locust Road itself, but it's all of a sudden, is it my fault then? Or, that's kind of the feeling. And just truth be told, we just had an accident with one of our crew members on Locust Road, and there was plenty of visibility where it happened. So it's just things like that. There's no safety data, or there's no exact geography that I'm looking for exactly. There's a lot of its fields, but roads like Bluffton, there's not a lot of accidents on there, but if you go and change those roads to 60 miles an hour, the chance of an accident being catastrophic, it starts to become a lot more. So those are the kinds of things that I'm playing with now that I put everything into my Word document and outlined all the roads and the geometry. Do I want to put this at 60? Do I want to put this at 55? And then, there'll be down in the southeast, there's a lot of straight stretches that seem relatively safe. So I'm going to guess that the southeast side we're probably going to see some 60-mile-an-hour roads. But the interconnectedness, so if there's a strip that's 55 and then there's a piece that wants to be 60, but it's surrounded by 55, why am I going to? Those are all the considerations. So, because I just don't want to confuse drivers. I want to make it easy for law enforcement. I want to do all of those things. So that's the I mean, the question you asked is where I'm at now. Now that I've got everything laid out, I'm 100% done with that. Now it's decision times. So, yeah, and it's not a formula. So,
How much additional passing distance is required between 55 and 60?
I knew that number probably 3 weeks ago. The what I can tell you is that all of the 55-mile-an-hour no passing zones were designed for 60 miles per hour, and that's why a lot of counties are just not even bothering changing striping and just say, you know what, the design is at 60, we gave that 5 mile per hour buffer. The state legislature is pushing this through. One of the last things I'll go and do is probably look at changing some of those no passing zones, changing the length of them. But I haven't heard anybody doing that yet. So I don't really want to be the only one. I don't feel that strongly on that either way. And I think the autonomous driving will be changing some of the safety characteristics of this down in the future. So I'm not in a hurry to do that. Just kind of that's where I sit on the no passing distances.
Yeah, we really don't have a lot of roadway length where we're dealing with any significant amount of passing, I think. Maybe Locust Road.
Well, the no passing is the hills, so it's Locust Road definitely has some no passing problems, but even what's that road just out the 265th? I mean, you got a couple of hills on that.
But you don't want to spend time analyzing no passing zones on ones you're gonna leave at 55 anyway. So,
Correct.
so don't do that till after you decide which ones are going to 60.
And even then, I want the signs to be right with the caution curves, because going through this, I'm seeing some of the curve signs aren't matching up with. So there's other things in this report that are taking my time to analyze that I think are better to get straight now than it is in the future. So. Yeah, good question.
Good.
All right.
I think you're good to go if you want, right?
Right.
Sean, I know you're not here for it, but we have a few extra minutes if you want to give a recap on that mock.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Dan.
Come on up and give everybody a fill in.
Thank you. I'm here to support the EMS stuff. I'm happy to do that. Won't take much of your time. So on August 5th, I held a full-scale exercise down in Austin, involved a lot of partners. I think I pleaded enough. I got Chairman Langrick to come, and also the mayor of Austin. So to have the elected officials there was vital, just so they could see the Emergency Operations Center piece of it. So thank you again, Dan, for your time. One of the core capabilities that we wanted to test was communication, and within 30 seconds of the start of the exercise, we had communication difficulties. So it was exactly like how it actually works on scene. So I didn't plan it that way, but it worked out well, I guess. After about the fourth different try on getting a radio to work inside the metal building, I ended up taking the dispatcher and put her out in my vehicle out in the parking lot. So we adapted and overcame quickly in that, but had a lot of good feedback from the core partners that participated, and I think we learned a lot. Did we check all the boxes? No, but I think we got a strong template moving forward. I really wanted to try to have Ocean Fire's assistance with developing some sort of simple template, like we need to evacuate part of a community. That's always kept me up at night, and I think we learned some lessons. Still a lot of work to go. The Emergency Operations Center piece. The last time I opened a true brick and mortar EOC was actually 10 years ago yesterday. I got notified on social media that 10 years ago yesterday was the 2016 flood, to which every time it rains, I still shake a little. So thank you for that. But so that was the last time we had a traditional one open. Normally in the last 10 years, kind of how I do it is I just kind of fill all the roles, operate at the back of my vehicle, which works and it doesn't work. So I guess, Dan, if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, other questions, I'm happy to try to answer.
Like you said, there was definitely some bumps in the road there, but And he actually kind of sold me. I thought he did the radio thing on purpose. But not.
No, they did not, Dan.
But that's why dudes exercise.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's what we talked about in the after action review or hot wash, whatever you want to call it, afterwards, it was good. It was good to do it because it's just, I can tell you as an emergency responder for 25 years, every large scale incident we have communication difficulties. Mark Vick's been tremendous in helping the 911 board, build out our infrastructure, but we still have places in the county that just doesn't work. And some of the things we take for granted is inside a building. And Austin Fire Department's a beautiful facility, but it's a true metal building. And I just didn't even give that a thought as I picked that location for the EOC. So it came back to bite me 30 seconds in, but we got through it. So, yeah. Cell phones were working better. The trouble with that, without having a true EOC in the county, if I had a true building, let's say I could budget and stick money into remedy those situations. Right now, how I do it, I could be all over the place. So how do I account for multiple locations in the county? It becomes difficult. Just have to.
Is it the way to put a repeater in your vehicle that if you have it parked close enough to the metal building, it would?
Yeah, Sheriff Marks and I talk a lot about repeaters over the last several years. Repeaters work well if they can hear what they're trying to repeat. And the trouble with Winneshiek County, if you're inside an area that cell phones and radios don't work, repeaters don't work. So it gives you a little false hope that you think you're gonna have that. So
if it's nice, you could have a garage door open.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, we tried that too.
And that didn't work.
We had the door propped open. We were trying to, we made it through, but there was a lot of moments, but that's why we do them, to Shirley's point. So
Anything else learned out of the AgriStar emergency out there that would apply?
that was quite the scene. We've got some firemen here that were there and some EMS were there as well. It was something to see. The volunteer firemen, they did a great job. It was quite the process to see how they ended up shuttling the tankers of water. I mean, I can't even put it into words. I probably, Decor Fire maybe got a drone picture of it or something, but it was, there was about 22 fire departments on scene. So there was probably 18 to 19 different tankers on scene, and just to see them line, it was just a constant, when I say constant, I mean constant dropping of water into the drop tanks to feed those aerials. The Decor Fire's aerial, you guys run what, 3,000 gallons a minute is what you were?
We're around 1,500 gallons a minute.
1,500 gallons.
For about 1 million gallons of water over the time period that we were there, which was like from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Yeah. Drop tank is what, how many gallons?
2,000 gallons was the vast majority of the tankers.
So you could buy them.
The biggest thing with that is that we, as firefighters, we put the water on the fire, but then where does that water go and what does it take along with it? We have to think about that when we get that type of scale of incident. We had the Sherman-Williams fire here, and that, I forget how many years ago that was. And that was one of the things that we immediately, after calling the water department, thought, well, where's this all going to run? It's going to run to the pond, and then it's going to run to the river. So we had them shut off the river flappers so that it stayed all in the pond, and then they recovered all that. But there's a lot of water that, happens there, and it's no matter where you go, that you're going to have some type of spill.
For Postville specifically, some of the bigger lessons learned, Steve, was to get Waterloo engaged sooner. It's Waterloo Fire, our hazmat response team that covers like 11 or 8, I forget how many counties they cover for us. Think of them, they're basically they're like a volunteer agency, you know, the Waterloo Fire is the Waterloo Fire, but then the NERG, Northeast Iowa Response Group, piece of that. When I make a phone call to them, they need time to respond, they need time to figure out the scene, they need time to get equipment lined up. All that equals time. So, I mean, it's like I always tell these agencies I work with on a scene, get me involved right away, start thinking about long-term resources, because I'm pulling a lot of the things out of Des Moines on the emergency management piece. This came out of Waterloo, but it's a 2 to 3 hour turnaround by the time the call is made. That's a long time for air quality and things to be, to continue, you know, without having the stuff monitored. That was probably one of the biggest things.
Was there a problem with any runoff from that fire into the water?
I think eventually they're gonna find out that there is.
Yeah.
We have anhydrous ammonia levels, because that's how they cooled it. You don't know what kind of chemicals they used inside the building, and then you flood that building with a bunch, millions of gallons of water, and, you know.
I know the DNR's been involved since about the you know, several hours into it. I know there was a fish kill and things already identified, so there's, the DNR is actively working through it, but to Steve's point, I mean, it took copious amounts of water, and it's gotta go something. You wanna think about the environment, that's always on our minds, but the immediate life safety is what we're focused on.
So when you guys arrived as firefighters on the scene, were AgriStar business owners able to provide you a sheet that told you what you're dealing with inside that building?
That's up to Postville. I'm sure at some point they did.
Well, that's usually what happens, just trying to ask questions to educate the public
Yeah.
too.
Tier 2 reporters have an obligation to report to the fire department covering the area and then also the emergency management. So,
Thanks, Sean.
yeah, thank you.
Next up on the agenda, miscellaneous item, a set public hearing on Novak rezoning request.
Yep, this came from Tony in the P and Z meeting, and he's proposing the September 8th at 10 o'clock. That public hearing.
September 8th. Okay,
I move to approve set the public hearing for Novak rezoning for September 8th at 10 o'clock.
Second. You can pick the second.
Take your choice.
We have a motion and a second to set the Novak rezoning request for September 8th at 10 o'clock. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Shirley.
aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Steve. Aye. I myself, passes unanimous. Okay, next item on the agenda, the first reading of resolution declaring emergency medical services an essential service.
Okay, here is the resolution prepared by Andy with input from Steve and myself. It's not required to have a public hearing on this, although the way we published the announcement or the publication for the first reading, we did include public comment time. So after you do the reading, you're welcome to do public comments then. And it requires 3 readings and you can't waive the readings. So after you read it today, set a second reading.
By the third time, I should get it all right.
Yeah, there you go.
You sure you don't want to give it to Steve to read? I mean, he already knows the document.
I move to approve the first reading of the resolution declaring emergency managed service as essential service.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the first reading of the resolution declaring emergency medical services an essential service. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. A resolution declaring emergency medical services an essential county service designating Winneshiek County EMS Association as the County EMS System Advisory Council and initiating the process for voter consideration of an emergency medical services tax levy pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 422D. Whereas emergency medical services, EMS, are critical to the preservation of life, reduction of disability, and protection of the public health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Winneshiek County. And whereas Winneshiek County is a predominantly rural county where timely access to emergency medical care is heavily dependent upon the availability, sustainability, and coordination of local emergency medical services agencies. And whereas emergency medical services providers face increasing operational challenges, including workforce shortages, rising costs of equipment and training, increased call complexity, and declining volunteer participation. And whereas Iowa Code Chapter 422D authorizes the County Board of Supervisors upon adoption of a resolution declaring emergency medical services to be an essential county service to submit to the voters the question of imposing an emergency medical services tax, including an ad valorem property tax. And whereas Iowa Code 422D.1 2B requires counties adopting such a resolution to coordinate with local emergency medical services agencies to establish a county emergency medical services system advisory council to assist in researching, assessing, and guiding EMS service delivery within the county. And whereas the Winneshiek County EMS Association is an established countywide organization representing emergency medical services agencies within Winneshiek County and is governed by duly adopted bylaws and regulations. And whereas the Board of Supervisors finds the Winneshiek County EMS Association is uniquely qualified to serve as the County EMS System Advisory Council as contemplated under Iowa Code Chapter 422D. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Winneshiek County that Section 1, Declaration of Essential Service, emergency medical services are hereby declared to be an essential county service in Winneshiek County, Iowa, pursuant to Iowa Code 422D.1. Section 2, Designation of County EMS System Advisory Council pursuant to Iowa Code 422D.1 2B. Winneshiek County Emergency Medical Services is hereby designated as the Winneshiek County Emergency Medical Services System Advisory Council. The Advisory Council shall consist of the association's duly appointed board members selected and serving in accordance with the association's bylaws and governing resolutions. Section 3, duties of the EMS System Advisory Council. The Advisory Council shall serve in an advisory capacity to the Board of Supervisors and shall research and assess EMS needs, guide system implementation, recommend funding amounts for ballot propositions, prepare annual reports, and participate in public meetings as required by Iowa Code 422D.1 2C. Section 4, initiation of EMS tax levy process. The board declares its intent to initiate the process for submission to the voters of Winneshiek County the question of imposing an emergency medical services property tax levy with revenues deposited into the EMS trust fund as provided in Iowa Code 422D.6. Section 5, election requirements. The board affirms that A, this resolution was considered at 2 meetings with proper notice. B, that a levy requires 60% voter approval. And C, that the resolution shall be void if the tax fails, expires, or is discontinued pursuant to Iowa Code 422D.1. Section 6, effective date. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon final adoption by the recorded vote.
Would recommend just doing the second reading next Monday at 10 o'clock. I'm on the agenda, so then we can keep the process moving.
Do we need a motion to set that?
Yes.
Motion to lead it to the second time next Monday at 10 o'clock.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to schedule the second reading of the resolution declaring emergency medical services an essential service for next Monday at 10 o'clock. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Passes unanimous. Are there any public comments?
I'd just like to state that I'm glad that we're this far along, even though I'm gonna retire tomorrow. It's still my plan to push EMS to make sure we have a system and it's fundable. And this is just one way that we can do that. And that this is not going to be a November 26th election option. This will be a November 127 ballot issue. So we have some time to really define, be able to educate the community, what we have, what we need, and what that will take from them to be part of that. So
Steve, how many years have you served Winneshiek County?
35.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This space was the sheriff's office when I came to town. So,
Congratulations on retirement.
thanks.
Steve, you want to kind of give the public a general explanation of why this is needed?
So, probably the long and short of it is we have volunteers who raise their money, or maybe they're just too busy and they rely on donations. But then the only current transport ambulance in Winneshiek County is from the hospital. It's under a department of the hospital, and all the taxation that the hospital takes in is not allowed to be used for EMS because of how the Iowa code is written and how the Iowa code that I think it's 357A, the hospital is under. So if they were in a 357 type of realm, they could essentially add 26 cents to their levy and put that all towards EMS. But there's very few counties that have hospitals like that. So about a $1.5 million budget, and yeah, we do bill Medicare, we do bill third-party Medicaid. However, that only brings in half of that expense. So we're, every ambulance service out there, the only way to get paid is transport. Getting back my ambulance, I'll take it to the hospital, then I can bill. If I don't, then I'm up to giving out free will donation, or just that's the cost of doing service. So. Any other questions I could answer?
How long does it take currently? Someone calls 911 and there's a medical emergency that's going to require assistance. What is our current response time versus typical elsewhere that doesn't meet these standards that we
currently, because we have a hospital-based ambulance that is staffed 24/7. Our response time from time of page to the time we're en route is anywhere from 30 seconds to about 2 minutes, depending on the time of the day. And you go elsewhere, their volunteers are coming to the station, picking up the ambulance and going to the scene. In Winneshiek County, I can pretty much guarantee you, if we have first responders available, within 5 minutes of that 911 call, you're going to have a trained medical person there. The ambulance may take the distance you are from the hospital to the scene. So if it's 1 mile, it's 1 minute. If it's 2 miles, or if it's 10 miles, it's 10 minutes. That's just, travel time. But we do pride ourselves on the care that we give and the response that we have. And there are times to where we don't have volunteer first responders showing up, but there are more times that we do. And it's all about trying to encourage more people to volunteer as well.
How many volunteers currently serve for you?
Currently, volunteer wise, we have around 60. And that includes EMS providers registered in the state is around 40. And then we have about 20 nurse exemptions. That is, if they're an RN, they can be exempted by the medical director. And then they can also respond as an emergency responder.
Is there any pocket of our county that needs more representation as volunteers?
All of it. The problem is, like, when you get to the northern part of the county, we have about 4 people up there. You get up to Highlandville, we don't have anybody, but the number of times we get up there for a call is maybe twice a year. And so it's balancing all of that. It's how do you get the people exposure to trach patients, but then there's not the volume to use those skills also.
I want to vouch for Steve. My son needed medical attention and I live over by Silvercrest. And when we called 911, I'm going to say we had a first responder within 3 to 4 minutes. And we're up kind of a steep, unique hill over Silvercrest. I would say that the ambulance was there in about 9 minutes from needing help. So I'm very blessed for what we have for a medical EMS system and it's substantially.
It's one of the more unique systems in the state. Where, Howard County, they have 2 ambulances, they have, quite a less number of people. And Winneshiek County has 1. We have 3 ambulances, but anytime those can go down, they kind of like to go down, but I try not to make them go down. So.
You look at Al McKee, they have more ambulances,
Yes.
but they're all volunteer staff.
Right.
Except for 1, so it looks like they have a lot of coverage. But your response time is they have to get to the station.
Do you have something, Sean?
Yeah, I just want to add, this is outdated information, so please don't quote me, but it's probably 10, 15 years ago. The average age of an EMS volunteer in the state of Iowa was 60 to 65 years old. So that was 10 years ago, give or take. So I would imagine that age has increased up some. If you look at EMS, fire department, if you look at them holistically from a 10,000 foot view, 5 years from now, the state of Iowa is going to look dramatically different than it does now. There's going to be force consolidation. There's going to be, you name it. And this is going to allow the local EMS agencies an opportunity to have some funding to do that. Because, look into your crystal ball in order to, there's not, and Steve can vouch for this, there's just not a massive group of young kids coming out of college saying, I would love to be an EMT for 30 grand a year and work 24/7. You just don't have that. So you're going to have to think outside the box when the volunteers age out. Otherwise, the alternative is, who's bringing the ambulance to you when you need it. So.
Do some of our surrounding counties that do not have a similar situation have some problems?
Yeah, they do. They have problems, staffing that ambulance 24/7. There's an area within our county that we actually silo dispatch, and that's just because they're not guaranteed 100% that they'll have people to respond. And so I'd much rather have an ambulance coming than waiting 5 or 10 minutes and then sending an ambulance. Because 5 or 10 minutes, that's 5 or 10 minutes down the road and 5 or 10 minutes closer. It's the same way across the United States. The whole question comes in is if we can get somebody there to initially identify and, change any life threats. But at what point do we want the ambulance to be there? At what point do we want that vehicle to transport them back to the hospital? And that's the answer. That's the question that has to get answered no matter where you live in the United States. You go out west, it may take them 45 minutes to get to you. I mean, we go down to Jackson Junction. It'll be 24 minutes for us to get down there. For New Hampton to come over, they're the same way. So but the nice thing is we have volunteers down in that area that they respond and they're there within that 5 or 10 minutes, or they could be right there. And that makes the hugest difference, is somebody there to take action and correct the life threats that happen.
If we could ask all of the ambulance chasers that listen to radios and show up to also be trained, that would really help too.
I don't
I know they
find
show
many
up.
ambulance chasers anymore.
You don't encounter that anymore?
No.
Wow.
I
That's
don't-
great.
I don't find many people chasing after wondering where the ambulance went or,
They sure
Yeah,
used to.
it used to be, but not anymore.
Oh, that's good to hear.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm scared.
Next item on the agenda, just walk through the door. Leave Vanderbilt.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
I know what you have.
Morning. I have one on the land lease out there. If we're anticipating maybe doing something with that property, we'd have to send before September 1st, or how does that contract read? I mean, we stated it could be.
I think we,
Are we
refresh
covered?
my memory, but we stated it was 3 years, but with the ability if portion was gonna be sold to give notice.
Yeah,
I think
so,
that's wrote in there.
Yeah.
We
But
changed it from a 3-year lease to something to allow them to terminate after the
Yeah.
first year, but I don't know if we're close enough yet.
We-
Whatever happened with the,
we have to do that by September 1st,
Yeah.
otherwise it's not,
So do we have a property description that we're terminating
Well, there's
on?
four different parcels that are all getting appraised.
Okay, so do you want to terminate everything out there or?
I would, I mean, we're basically, if we sell, it's gonna be pretty much the crop line, I mean, what we kind of, whatever. do that.
And remind me, is that our only tillable ground that we're leasing? It's just,
Yeah.
so the entire lease just gets terminated?
Yeah,
That's what you want?
I would,
I would say that's a smart move.
smart move,
Yes, we need to.
You can always advertise it.
Yeah.
again.
Because there's some latitude.
Yeah. Yeah,
If you notice in our payables that just went through, we paid the property taxes on the farmland that we lease out.
yeah, we have to, that's what it is, cause.
We take it out of, when we put it into a leasing situation, we pay the property taxes on it. We just paid roughly $1,500 in property tax to the state for that lease. It would seem in my opinion, to be very good to have it in the hands of a private owner.
If you want to look into that.
Yeah, I could just send.
Yeah, if you
gotta be
get that
postmarked
termination
by-
out.
Postmarked by September 1st, ain't it?
while you're talking about leases and the property out there, we want to talk about the Verizon tower lease, because they basically said that the guy who made the initial request said that he didn't have the authority to make any term changes on the lease. And then I asked if there was somebody who did, and he was gonna do some checking on the placing the 911 equipment. But he said that Verizon doesn't allow the landowners to terminate leases, so does that just make it dead in the water that you aren't going to negotiate any changes with them, or that's what we need to know and how to respond?
if I were advising, I am advising you, I would not, I would leave the ball in his court. Right now, they're paying more than they want to pay. They have to make a decision if they're gonna decommission that tower or not. And they know what it's going to take to get the price down and to, what your conditions are for that. I'd let it sit for a bit, I think your comment too, and find somebody else who can talk about these things was appropriate, and we wait for them to come back to you. I mean, right now, they're gonna pay what they're gonna pay, and, which is the original amount of the lease, and if you find a buyer, I think the buyer needs to be made aware that they're buying it subject to that lease, but on the other hand, they pick up the revenue, the annual revenue from it if they buy it and the lease stays in effect.
And I don't think actually that piece where the tower is in your first.
No, it isn't in the.
And what they're first looking at selling doesn't include that little section because the engineer still is using some air
Property there.
too. So I don't think it doesn't actually conflict with the initial goal, and might longer term that if they get rid of the rest of the land, then maybe they want to look at getting rid of that last little piece eventually, but this is pressing.
And by then, maybe it's worked through the powers that be at Verizon to come back with another.
So just don't respond to them anymore.
I think I'd wait until they make a substantive response to your proposal, short of can't do that.
Okay, you have anything for us, Sandy?
Working on a couple of 2080s for law enforcement, and I think, Dan, you're aware, Asha and Kelmer are trying to figure out how to get a little more coverage. Joe Ward's retirement, I think, kind of set some things in motion, and so that will be coming your way hopefully in the next 30 days.
There'll be two separate 2080s, one with Washington for police
Kelmer.
protection, one with Kelmer for police protection.
Very similar in terms of content, but I think both are, if I remember correctly, both are asking for more coverage time, more hours. And that, and I think there's another entity that's out there looking for 2080 also that may help facilitate getting another deputy paid for out of all this. Which,
And once everything gets all figured out, Dan's gonna come to our board here and explain it to us, but he's got a bunch of moving parts right now. But yeah, Washington had a 2080 agreement with Kelmer for police protection, and then Kelmer had one with the county. So in turn.
Kelmer and Ashen are both with the county.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's how that works. But they're gonna be separate ones now because if some conditions change in Kelmer or some change in Washington, then they just have to update one of the 2080 agreements instead of doing both. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Yeah, I just thought you should be aware that that's coming down the road. Other question I have is with regard to the remodeling at the public service building for the county attorney's office. Who's in charge of?
We talked to the contractor the other day and
They're working on the HHF side of it
right
to
now.
get that, so we can get them moved, and then the county attorney side will take the necessary steps to get what needs to be done.
Let us know when it's time to start talking through.
Yeah.
And
They're gonna cut off that upper ceiling or wall ceiling part there. They're gonna get that done right away and then we'll
seal
that off from that their part. And then the rest will, once we get that to that point.
I think Andy wants to make sure he has contact with them as well, so
We
the
want to make sure
details.
we're all on the same page with what walls are going in and
Yeah, what we got to do.
what our workflow looks like there.
Yeah. Yeah, once we get HHS out of there, then. Right.
Yeah, then I was up, I did visit with John on a different matter, but he's, kind of looks like they're gradually moving this
Moving,
direction. So,
Is this all done? I haven't been over in the old jail for a few weeks. Is it?
It's done, no. Their focus of that contractor is pull off of there to go over to be at the HHS.
I think there's, I don't know if the file cabinet's all got out of the hallway or not, but that hallway needs to be redone over there yet too. And probably that storage room under the stairs needs to be emptied, some sort of floor covering put down and painted as a storage area.
I think they're finishing up. They just repainted the probation office upstairs, and then there's a carpeting schedule to go into that, and final cleanup of that office upstairs and the third floor.
And I don't know, next door about the bathroom, has that been?
That's the same contract. It's on hold with the other work over there needing to progress on a higher priority.
Yeah.
We kind of told them October 1st, I mean, we were talking September 1st, but that just ain't gonna, so we said, hopefully by October 1st.
1 week.
Yeah,
Because they have to,
to get that HHS, we get them moved, and they gotta know to do their.
Is the number of square feet basically the same? Because otherwise they
Oh,
are gonna
yeah.
wanna,
Measure that.
Another measurement.
yeah, so we know.
It might be.
Yeah, it was 1/10 of a,
This might be, this.
it's gotta be real close.
It could be a. Yeah. Close the same size and make it just bigger. You got that back room here.
Cause HHS has to set up with their
Contract IT people.
copier from, because they're the only ones that can move that, so they have to set up a time to return. That's what.
It ain't their own entity anymore, it's just they're leased out, the state leased all their IT stuff, so it's still.
Kind of got pushed to October 1st to kind of get them the preliminary setup time.
well, I won't worry about contacting HHS about refiguring the percentage unless, if it's similar enough for you, unless they contact me first, then I'll go through that, but
I think you'll probably get a contact.
I probably will, but yeah, because they figure their reimbursement to this county based on the percentage of the space they're using, so.
And
Yeah, it's probably gonna be
the question that came up after being invited at the conference, pretty much a whole afternoon session was on data centers. And pretty much everyone recommended that everyone, people should put a moratorium on.
Actually.
And we had talked about that, the moratorium should come, be requested after we'd started some investigation into that. I think we're like 6 weeks into this subcommittee working on that, and probably another ways to go.
so I would say
They
that
request that we have a moratorium now.
if that's the conclusion they're reaching based on their research and they can justify it, if they come to you, that would be the process to follow, would be P&Z's committee saying we need a moratorium to provide more time to look into this.
And they said usually there's a set time, number of weeks. I think everyone said it doesn't send any indication you're not open for business. It's just that we need time to.
Well, we kind of pretty much got a grip on that anyway with it designating it for within 10 too.
But there's still that option for people to do something. They said if anyone slips in with an application beforehand, then it's kind of more likely.
The other message through that whole discussion that afternoon was the need for community input and education.
And that was also in that article that Michael sent out, Stephen called and mentioned too, that we need to have community input into all of that, which will take some time.
And then that article also brought up the point that other aspects of the county need to give input.
Yeah. So
It also seemed to draw attention to the fact that each case is almost different, because whether they use water or don't use water, and how much noise they make or don't make, and so on, is so different from the larger data centers. Big category can mean a whole bunch of different things, so.
It was a really good discussion all afternoon on data centers.
Yeah, there was a conversation,
Conference.
there's conversation at the federal level to limit putting a moratorium on things larger than 50 megawatts. Well, there's, the only thing that's even proposed around here is 50 megawatts up in Minnesota. But there is another company I saw the other day that's promoting data centers at anywhere from 3 to 20 megawatts. And 10 is that little cryptocurrency down there by the ethanol plant.
3 would be pretty small.
3 is pretty small, but they're still, they're putting small modular pieces around. So you can't have one ordinance that's going to cover 3 versus 300.
Yeah, that's completely different situation. That's why the ordinance needs to be a lot of research to go into that. How are they gonna write language?
So I think that's why we should have a moratorium. They talked to the Elmkey County guy and they already have somebody that wants to put another center in there. But they do have
They've got power over there. We don't have necessarily here.
but they do have their ordinance in place.
I think the process is, it should come from P and Z to use a request and along with the information that they're basing it on.
So on that note, PNC has an open meeting today at 2 p.m. for their data centers committee work again
Right, in this room.
here.
Is it going to be online? It's going to be a committee.
I don't know.
I haven't,
I could look.
I
at-
didn't
It's got
see-
the agenda out and I didn't.
the
look
agenda
if
did.
there's
They're
any-
usually online.
They usually
Yeah,
are.
it should be online. There's not anything on the agenda or anything I could find on the county website that would say that it is. Because I'm sure there's more interest.
And I don't know how their committee is structured. Is it a
haven't-
majority of the members of the P and Z? So it doesn't technically have to be an open meeting. They're just providing it as open.
Yeah, they have an agenda.
Their public comment on their agenda.
There's 3 members.
Anybody have anything else, Randy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
I've got the minutes and the claims and VA monthly report and a liquor license for Country Express.
We've approved consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This is unanimously. Committee reports.
I have a what was Hawk is now Early Childhood of Northeast Iowa meeting on Wednesday. 10 o'clock.
I've got Northeast Iowa Behavioral Health tomorrow at noon and Thursday Upper Exploreland at 1, and those are both.
Me and John got like Wednesday morning, we got one or two deaths up
That's all I need.
public health to move out, so. Move them cleaned out in that area. Yeah.
Ben, a safety committee meeting next Monday at 1 still.
Yes, I guess, yeah.
Okay. I have my calendar and I
That
just
is on the calendar, yeah. If it's
So-
on the calendar at 1, I think that
had
sounds
the
right.
latest manual updated in their possession.
It's supposed to be Barb, but I haven't seen the latest manual. Before that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
So I know she was on vacation for a little bit. I wonder if we could have her email it out to everybody when she gets back.
I'll mention it.
Thank you.
So with that public health, we'll be out by the first of the month. Is that the goal or?
Yeah, there's just two or desk and a half, one big desk and a couple. John took a couple standing ones and put over here, so he took them out of there, so just be desk and a half, maybe. Yeah, the rest it'll be all done for September.
It was good to see that community action was able to rid themselves of the rental properties. It's a huge plus for them, I think, and it's a huge plus for Winneshiek County if they're having somebody taking over that housing option.
Wednesday's the filing deadline for the general election, so. We still have, soil and water, hospital, and maybe extension candidates filing and normal filing. And political parties, it's considerable conventions to name candidates, which they've done for a couple board seats. And then just today I got the filing for the Decorah city bond issue, but there can be other, we'll have Spillville is having a ballot question on their lost designation. And so anything, things like that can still get filed through Wednesday. So after Wednesday, we'll have defined what all is going to be on the ballot. Usually takes, we have to wait 5 days before we can actually certify anything, because that's the time when people can withdraw. So there's a withdraw or contest deadline next week, but by this time next week, we'll have it all finalized. But yeah, we're still getting things added daily. I mean, the core thing today, I'm still working with the Spillville city attorney to get the exact language ready for the ballot. And yeah, still have a few. I think we have enough candidates running for hospital and an extension, but soil and water is still short a few. So they have to do it right in campaigns. So we need to still getting things each day. And we're starting voting for the South Winds Pepple election, which is September 8th. And so we've started absentee voting on that election also this last week.
So early voting starts when?
It started last Wednesday, yeah. We've only had a handful of people so far, but
They're counting on.
yeah.
All right.
People have received their new tax bills.
Yeah, tax bills finally went out. We had some issues with our programming that between me preparing it and sending it to Tim, and it all was right on our system. But when Tim downloaded the file to send to the mailing company to send out the tax bills, it wasn't drawing the same information out of the system as what we were seeing. And so luckily he hadn't hit send yet. I mean, he had gotten some samples from them and he's like, they aren't matching up. So it took 2 or 3 weeks to get all the programming ironed out, but the tax bills didn't go out. So we do have money coming in now.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Hey, Fatima, there's only 2 left.
Yeah, so the consensus of the room and the data centers conversation